Hey, how you doing today?
Good. New background. Are you in the escape room or?
No, this is my home office setup. I'm getting all geared up for YouTube. I got a mic and everything. It's not public.
Nice.
So, yeah, I've got some lighting coming in from up here. I'm switching the side. I'm going to do some like YouTube tutorials, stuff like that. So, and
I
allow me to work better and a lot quicker and easier over video.
I always wanted to do some YouTube tutorials like for years.
Yeah.
But one interesting tool, and I was waiting for months to get the price down. So there is this thing for the MacBook
Uh-huh.
where you can like DSLR or any professional camera, so you can have a live stream or even like chat on the Zoom now using the real camera. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's called Elgato. I know the
Yeah.
company.
So I ordered an Elgato. I'm using the Black Magic for the video cameras and for the
Huh?
screens coming in, and then because what I've read and research is um, better to stream with hardware than to use your CPU on your computer. Because
Hmm.
that way, especially like if you're doing like Zoom, a guest, and kind of interviews with your computer, you don't want to be using the computer unless you have a really nice computer.
So
Um,
Blackmagic can be used for streaming. Like you can connect this Blackmagic outside GPU, right? For
yeah.
the
So here I'll show you which one. Yeah. So let me get my screen going. Hop over here. Man, I'm trying to migrate and work in WordPress because two of our locations, DC and Miami, aren't switching and they're staying in WordPress. I hate WordPress. Like
oh my God, tell me about
I
it.
forget how much I hate that stuff. So um, Blackmagic ATEM Mini Pro. So it's this guy.
Oh,
Yeah. So he'll do four camera inputs, HDMI inputs, and then you can just switch between them, or you can do picture in picture with those buttons there,
it's
and then
USB.
it'll stream it out directly to YouTube or wherever you want to go,
Oh,
Twitch or whatever. And it's a hardware streamer, so then that way there's no chance of drop frames like if you're using your computer and processing with software to stream it. There could be more issues.
there's only one thing you can't like. Can you share your screen? Like if you got some
Yeah, so
part
you
that.
use so my screen is coming in through an HDMI input.
Oh.
So input number one is going to be my camera right here.
Hmm.
Input number two will be my main monitor, and then I can do like an overhead camera pointing down if I ever want to show something on my desk, or doing a different angle for another camera. And then I actually have three monitors set up. So then I can use another monitor for the fourth one. And the fourth one I'm actually using for like a green screen overlay. So then that way I can do all types of video animations overlaid on top of the whatever I'm streaming.
That's
So you can do like
great.
the lower thirds that come across and all that type of stuff. You can do animations, yeah, as much as you want to get into.
I opened it on site. I have to check it out because I bought this like converter like this
Yep.
Elgato, and there is no alternative. This thing jumped the price skyrocketed during the coronavirus from 130 to $300, and now I'm just importing the one I found acceptable price from UK. It was the only way to.
Okay. So
Uh,
the Elgato thing that I got is a Stream Deck, and I got this XL one. And so
oh,
you can do any type of macros through your computer.
uh-huh.
There's an open source software called Companion. So you can just click these buttons and they'll do whatever you want. So if you wanted to have on that like green screen, if you
Mhm.
wanted to have do the lower third, I just make a button on this Elgato Stream Deck, click it, and then the lower third comes on my video. So I don't have to like mess with anything while I'm streaming or
Wow,
doing anything.
that's
Uh,
really awesome. That's really nice.
yeah, so it's just a way to do like hot hotkeys for whatever you want to do. I might use it, for like a git command, just to run in the terminal, just to git commit and do the whole thing all set up for me.
Are you going to
Uh,
do the tech thingy or like escape room thingy, the podcast recording
no,
for
yeah,
YouTube?
it'll just be tech. It'll just be like Laravel, open source.
Nice.
I don't know how much like how in depth the tutorials, but more like based on users, kind of teaching and kind of building my own brand name up is what I'm using it for.
Nice. It's really nice.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm getting excited about it. The other thing, what I'm using with this microphone is the Go XLR. And this thing, like watching some of these videos on it, it's pretty cool what you can do. No, that's not. Amazon has all, because it's all sold out everywhere because of
Yeah.
the stuff. So Amazon doesn't have the real prices. But anyway, here it's made by this company, TC Heliton, and so it's this Go XLR right here.
So it's to put the microphone into that and then to your.
But it does a whole lot more. It can do all types of sound effects, voices. You can have a bunch of like boom, boom, bing, all like little sound effects that you want to do, and you just click the button to do it.
And do you get lighting at the front of you now? Like, do you have some background like to light up your face?
Yeah, so so I got a big light that's coming in that'll be up there and shining down, and then I'm just leaving a black background. I like the black look.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's really nice. I'm looking forward. Send when you got something. I will be
I
happy.
will. It'll probably be mid-August or so before I get one up. Mainly because this thing's so back-ordered. This Go XLR is back-ordered to the beginning of August. But it does a lot of stuff. So I like this microphone's pointless until I know where to put this XLR cable into anything. So.
Okay, so we're gonna have a nice connection quality. So I'm waiting for mine one as well. It should come like in a week. So at least I could like use my professional camera. I had some pretty old but very good quality, but it's like a Sony camera. So
okay.
Nice lighting and nice sound.
Yeah, a lot of the guys I was watching use Sony. I ended up going with Canon because a lot of the YouTube channels that I like some of the stuff they can do with the Canon cameras and the lenses. So I'm using like a fisheye lens, so it kind of shows my desk and a little less of me and makes it look funny. I like more of that artistic look.
Really cool, really cool.
So anyway, yeah, so that's what I've been messing around with. But let me give you the option to share your screen, and then you take over. Let me figure out.
So do you want to talk about the move? So you would like to move the CI into into the Google, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So my question is, are you decided how you want to do that? Like which product to use?
So I mean, the one I was thinking initially Kubernetes, Docker, but that may be overkill for this little simple website.
Okay, I can tell you the oh yeah, continue.
So I like if you have experience with App Engine, I think that's great. Let's just use that.
I can show you quickly I can share my screen, but I'm not sure if that's.
Yeah, I just added it, so you should be able to now.
So you got basically 3 ways to go when you're talking about the CI in the Google. The first product is, well, okay, you got Google Kubernetes, right? Which is nice, but the downside is it's pretty complex to configure and have a lot of waste behind. So I wouldn't recommend it just because of that. It's good for the large projects. What's the other product? This is the kind of the most modern product Google got. It's called Google Cloud Play. I hope I'm spelling this correct. Just a sec. Was it? Let me just jump into this page because I maybe misspelled that. Oh, sorry, it's Cloud Run, not Cloud Play. Sorry. So the other one is Google Cloud Run, which is pretty amazing. What they did is they take out this configuration part from the Kubernetes, so you don't have to configure cluster and make tons of the lines, and they just allow you to take the Docker image and put into the Cloud Run, and they will manage this, basically upscale, downscale, right? Okay. But there is one downside there, which is basically you don't have good console behind of them. You still have to compose some YAML file, and push it there. So basically there is no dashboard behind. Okay. And the product I'm most used to is called Google App Engine. Yeah. And how does it basically work?
Which I put a site on there before. and messed around with it a couple years ago.
It made a lot of progress, and basically, so this works comparable, let's say, to Google Play, where you just take your project and put inside of the container.
Mhm.
But the thing is, this container is managed by Google and coming up with pretty fine environment. So they built PHP there, they put all the versioning there, they made auto scaling. So your job is only to make the code and put it there. All rest is done there, right? And it's perfectly supporting the PHP.
How does it run databases? Do we have to run the database separately? Is what I did when I used it before.
So yeah, you run database separately just add instance inside of the Google console. So just new MySQL instance, right? But what's cool here? So if you do it, for example, with Kubernetes, you have to manually set up the connection proxy. So the way that you connect into this MySQL, you have to configure. And the App Engine have it all built in. So in the App Engine, basically, I just can connect right away into my MySQL instance, and all this like complexity is hidden behind. And you got like modern PHP. So it's like, I think 7.3, it's supported, right? So what you basically do is you go to the project and you just run a Google app like deploy. Mm-hmm. And that's it. Oh, this is basically only comment. You just take Google app deploy, it's take your current path and just throw into the App Engine, right? And what is cool there? Let me see if I got. Probably I have nothing set up to show on my private account. But basically, you got dashboard behind, and on this dashboard, you can see how much is the load, what's the current version. You can roll back to any previous version. Basically, you have pretty cool panel to work with this thingy. So when, let's say, you want to debug that, you have the source of the current version. You got error reporting. So it's coming up with this nice panel, so you can actually even work with that without every time diving into this complex documentation. And the coolest thing is that thing downscaled to 0. So when we don't use that, let's say it's a Sunday, whatever night, nobody using the system, it's 0. You don't pay a penny for that. Then when people start to visit, it's just launching the instance. It's launching the small instance, like 1 GB RAM of something. Mm-hmm. And more people coming is just launching more of them. So you pay per consumption of your actual application, which often you pay absolutely 0. So in terms of the waste, is absolutely the best. And it's pretty simple. So I used it plenty of times, and I'm just like very happy about the way it works.
Yeah, I would love to get to it. Let's get off of Forge and DigitalOcean and switch over to this. And then we'll use Google SQL for our database.
Yeah, SQL. Okay. There's only one, I have to just mention one limitation in serverless environments. So whenever you do the serverless, it's pretty the same as a normal coding. There is one small trick. Think about that. Every time you access the machine, it might be brand new instance, like just after CI, right? That database is stored in the database, so there's always the same source, but the machine might be completely new. What's that mean? You can't use local file system to store any caching. So if you want to store something, store it in database or in the bucket somewhere. Just don't use like local directories, because if you save something to, let's say, temporary files, and you want to read that later, the new machine, or like one of the 5 machines it's using at the moment, don't have that file. So the only rule in the serverless is like, no, don't write things in the local file system that you critically need for the application to run, because then those machines are coming and disappearing. I don't think we use any of those in the current folder. But
I use caching in here.
So you can use MySQL. So then if you use caching, or use Redis, or use MySQL for caching. Like just don't use local file cache, because what does it mean? Like this, if I store things in the local cache, right? And I get one instance running, because there is whatever, 10 clients using this at the moment, it's fine, it's gonna be in the cache. But then if they're gonna come next 10 clients, it might upscale to 2 instances. So the second instance don't have these local files available, right? Yeah. So it's just basically just don't use local caching file caching as the driver, because it might wipe out at any moment, right? It might be just flushed out.
So
that's
then
the only limitation.
does sessions variables work?
So I would say let's store the session variables in the MySQL. Or if you want to do it like a pro, you can just add it to the Redis. So that those are two options.
Redis then. Let's move all the session stuff to Redis.
Yeah, so then it's perfect. Caching for Redis and MySQL instance as the key instance.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm excited to show you the panel, because actually, so the coolest thing about the panel is every time you have a new version of your system, every new deployment, you got just a list of all possible instances that you can just access. Let's say the instance you had like yesterday. Like you can, if you, whatever use case, you can just check, the code version that was yesterday and actually run it. But the coolest thing, absolutely coolest thing, it's called review branching. So whenever we make pull request, right? Let's say Gustavo made a new feature when you have a new cart with a new icon. Every time you make pull request, you can have version of the system with a custom domain that you can see only that version of the system. So you can play around. It's like, you have staging environment for every single pull request. That's hugely helpful, because you can just click around, see if it's working, make the updates, without merging to the master branch. It's pretty cool. I mean, I'm very happy to set it up, and I can do it pretty quick.
Okay. And I have a domain TGER.dev for development branch once we get this site live, which I want to get this site live here in the next couple of days. So
another great thing of App Engine, like SSL certificates. Normally it's a nightmare. I mean, not really nightmare, but you have to have Let's Encrypt or something. You have to set it up, maintain, that is always updated. In Google App Engine, you have this panel that you just go add domain, you point to your domain, and Google will automatically keep up-to-date certificate. It's for free. It's including the price. And if you want to add other domain, you just add domain. So this panel thing, it just removes out of the hustle of, doing everything manual on the system. So it just lets you to have a code and run your code. But I think you're going to see the benefits when you're going to have it running.
Yeah, great. All right, let's do it. I guess, do you need me then to set up the account and then give you access to it?
All I need is create a new account on the Google, and just add me as the whatever project owner, things like that.
Okay. All right.
And yeah, the only thing is try to keep the naming consistent and without everything low caps. Because sometimes if you use high caps and low caps, one thinks is low, other is high. It's just use always low caps. Don't use, mixed.
Yeah, lowercase. Yeah.
Just lowercase, sorry.
Yeah. Okay. And then can you walk through the other things that you set up just so I have a better understanding?
Yeah, let's go inside of the, let's go inside of the actions. So just a sec, let me open the actions file. So there's two ways to work with the actions, right? You can work on from the repository, which basically is .github workflows, and there's a Laravel YAML. So that's the file to work with. But you can do that directly on the Git, which I actually do it a lot. It's pretty convenient. Every time you edit that file, just a sec, file changes. Every time you edit this workflow file, it's having this interface from the GitHub. So you can search from the marketplace some extra apps. That's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it's automatic. Wherever you just edit these workflows, Laravel YAML.
Okay.
And let me get inside. How does it work? So you can put in these workflows multiple configurations, right? Mm-hmm. But they execute in the same moment. So before I made like linter.yaml and laravel.yaml.
Yep.
And they was executing the same moment, and that was creating conflict because one was updating the code that other one was running. So instead of that, I merged them inside of the one Laravel YAML file. Mm-hmm. And how does it work? This is the name of the workflow, right? This is just saying where it should be triggered. So every time you have a push and pull request to the master, just run this entire workflow, right? And you got two jobs. This is the jobs part. So first one is the build, which is basically code linter, which basically taking the instance of the code linter from the Docker. The reason it's taking from the Docker versus the GitHub is because if you take it from Docker, it's much faster. Otherwise, it must pull from GitHub and build the Docker, which taking like whatever extra minutes. So that's why there's this Docker prefix here. And then,
now you used to have this linter running on the pull request. Now it's just running on master.
yeah, it's just running on master because when it's pull request to master.
Oh, okay.
And we do only pull request to master. So basically it
Okay.
applies anywhere, right?
Okay, I see what you're saying. When I merge something to master, we're not going to get a commit onto the master branch from this.
No, it will not work that way.
Okay.
So then you got these flows running. I will also show you the debug. Okay, so this is the build part, right? It will basically just take the linter and send the code inside of the linter, and linter will just do its magic behind the scenes. So when you run this action, you have always those console. Like if you click on details, like I was here in pull requests, when I got those things running, I have always details on the side, right? So if I click on those details, I can see what was going on. So I see, okay, it set up the job, you can see all the comments executed inside, right?
Mm-hmm.
But everything is all ticked. And it will start, then it will go into the Laravel building. And it will start, as I mentioned, this is important, this needs build. It's mean that started only when the build is completed. So don't do it like in the middle. And also this linter will create fixed job only if there is an issue. So otherwise it will just continue smoothly. And
so
here
it will do the commit though.
Yeah. So if there is an issue, it should make a pull request with a commit inside of that.
Another pull request or just a commit into that pull request?
Update the current branch.
Okay, great.
But
I don't see that in there. Is that just that's just default with this?
Yeah,
link?
so that's the way that linter works. Like it's by default, it's just like
circle style CI. Mm-hmm.
The default styling. So it's a default branch master. So.
And you've got this set up for like PSR4 for PHP.
I just make it default. I just like leave all the default, and looks like by default it checks everything. But we're going to see that in action. It's checking only the current branch. So we're going to see the way it works. Like in terms of unit tuning, I will tune it. I just left it default.
Okay.
Okay, then we're going into the building process, which is just a bunch of the Laravel codes. Let me just back to this debugger. Those are details of the job, right? So we see one by one what's the output of those commands, right? So let's say when the PHP unit fails, we can see what happened by just unscrolling that.
Yeah. Have you looked much into pest that they're working on now?
Not really.
Yeah, check that out sometime. I might switch over to that instead of PHP unit. I guess it's kind of on top of PHP unit.
I haven't checked it. I don't really mind, like whatever works.
Yeah.
And here, I guess the only thing that's open pull request, so it's not yet deployed. So what this code back to actual execution, you see what it does is just like copying env, installing composer files, generating Laravel key, changing directions, just normal instance of Laravel from zero. You can check them one by one. But where you see the time is actually running, you can see on the right there is a timer. So composer install took a minute, right? And install the npm dependencies took 1.5 minutes. All the rest, they're like seconds, right?
Yep.
So that was kind of the issue. And in this pull request, this part of the code, which is you see get composer cache directory and hash it. What this will does is basically it will create the cache file for node modules that will just update if composer locked is updated. So every time we update composer lock, it will just create new hash for the caching. Otherwise, just pull that. So I'm just adding this for composer and npm. So if we do that, if there is no changes in composer and npm, those would be like, seconds, not like a minute.
Yep.
So that's the last thing I do. And every time we make pull requests, like all of those actions going, And once again, if you ever want to edit that, you can just go to actions where you got like recent actions running. But oh, here you have this Laravel workflow and lint code base. That's the panel actions, right? But if you want to edit that, like, oh, I want to just change, you know, I want to run some comment in the middle before, let's say, NPM production, you can go here, GitHub, workflows, Laravel YAML, and or edit it in the code editor, or just click here to edit, where you got this actual, you know, like documentation, marketplace, some cool UI from GitHub.
Yeah, that is great.
And it's pretty simple. Like you want to have, let's say, npm extra comment, you just copy paste whatever, npm install Nova, right?
Yep.
So that's simple as that. Yeah, and so what I'm going to do now, if we're going to have App Engine, I will just add probably the one more latest one, is just to sync it with the App Engine, which will be probably just like 3 lines of code, hopefully, and that should automatically on merge to the master, just update the App Engine.
Yeah, so a couple things. First, with the EMV, like with those like secret keys, where do I put that? Is there a way on GitHub to add that to the repo and then it'll add it to the EMV when it's deploying?
Oh, that's actually a great question in terms of the CI production. Wait, because I used on the GitLab, they definitely have the section of that. I haven't set it up on GitHub on the GitHub for like over a year, so I'm not really sure where was it. I have to have a quick look, but I'm quite sure they have some way
Yeah,
to
they have
store
it somewhere. I just haven't used it either. Yeah, and then go ahead.
I set it up in the GitLab many times, and it was very simple. There was just way to click to set up. I will update you. I just have to find where was the place to set up env.
Okay, and then the second thing is the Envoyer. I think I would like to use PHP on Laravel Envoyer with it to take a look at the jobs that are running and things like that.
There is one small issue in terms of the Laravel Envoyer. So the thing is like that, like Envoyer, it's created to make the build of the system. Like what you do with the Envoyer, you take the code and you have the build done on the machine. So just pull the code, run, you know, install the things one by one, right? When you have things like App Engine, you don't need to build anymore because App Engine will build it itself. So the thing is like in this App Engine, you just, let's say, for example, Composer, right? Like there is no server in the middle installing Composer. The App Engine itself, it knows that PHP needs to require a Composer. So basically, the Envoyer, it's becoming sort of useless if you use App Engine, because it doesn't do much things. App Engine doing the things for Envoyer. So I would suggest that I will show you how it works with App Engine. And if you say, okay,
dashboard though, where I can see queued jobs and stuff. We're not currently using queues, but I want to start using queues. Is there going to be a dashboard or a way to see all that?
When we create, so if we do it in App Engine, we're just going to have to set up the configuration for the worker that will run the jobs, right? And we can just install Horizon to see all the jobs running.
Horizon for it then?
The Horizon is compatible with that. It's like this, I can set it up. Like it's not out of the box that it will work with the queue jobs, but if I just install Horizon, it will have a normal dashboard for that. So,
okay.
But yeah, I guess the best way would be if I would try to do it the way that I would say is the clean way. And you can see if you like that. And alternatively, if you say, okay, let's try to do it some custom way, we can do it the custom way.
All right, I'm going to pull up. I know there's a couple of these guys that have used this. So let me pull up. I think Dre's, he used something. Let me look at his repositories. Yeah, here we go. So he's using, I mean, he's obviously not using App Engine. Yeah, so here's where looks like he's getting his, well,
That's not a deployment script, looks like.
this is just a testing. This is just executing tests.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because typically you need, like, you know, when you have those steps, as I mentioned, there's like a build, there's Laravel,
Yeah.
there is a need to be third called deploy. So it's like take this bunch and just send somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Somebody was using it, so it wasn't him. It was maybe it was somebody where it's spotty. All right, give me a second. This is Nuno's the one who's building tests. That's what you should check out. This Test PHP is like this new tester thing that they're working on. Let's see if his website has it. So he's not using the superlinter here. He's using some
CS
PHP.
Fixer.
Yeah.
I'm not the big, yeah. I'm not that big fan of CS Fixer, as I mentioned. Because, like,
Yeah. And then he just still has the same test thing. Okay. So he's not doing any continual deployment.
There was a thing deploy at the end, to be honest. If you back to this file, I think I saw at the end the file deploy.
On the on which one?
I think it was the test. If you go to the bottom, deploy, you see?
Oh, so he's using Envoy to deploy.
Yeah,
This is where I thought I saw it before. I thought I saw somebody using Envoy to deploy. But
well,
needed is what you're saying.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. The thing with App Engine, because it's serverless, it's like that. Like App Engine would say, I need to build it anyway. Like, you don't need to build it for me because I have internal system to building that. So then, like, basically Envoyer would do no work. It will just, like, Envoyer cannot push this code. Whatever Envoyer build, like node modules or composer, it won't be used anyway inside of the App Engine because App Engine know how to build the PHP applications. That's what I would say. And also the Git actions, they are pretty powerful in terms of if you want to have some comment extra in the middle, like you would typically paste in Git actions.
Okay, let me look up. There's maybe one more. I think Marcel has something that I saw. Now let's see repositories. Take a look at his stuff. Yeah. Let me look up. So if we go to like Spotty's, let's see, Frank Murs, see if he has something. That's great. I'm gonna put that on mine. I'm definitely copying that.
Nice. I didn't know you could have a README file for your profile.
Yeah, I just added one to mine. I just did essentially their own little example I did, but I need that animated 404 error. No internet error. That's great.
Have you sent him a postcard?
I have not.
Man, I think I told you the story, right? When I met him first time, I was like, man, I love your packages. They're great. And he was like, have you sent me a postcard? I was like, oh, shit. And it's like specific in licensing. This is like allowed only if you send me a postcard, right? I was like,
Yeah. Yeah, he's great. I've hung out with him at the Laracons as well. Let's see. I thought somebody had one where they were using something interesting in there. But I don't know. Yeah, he just added that yesterday. That's pretty good.
It might be something new. I mean, I love to have a README on my profile for God knows which reason, but it's cool.
Yeah, well, when somebody goes and visits, there's more information there. It's like the old, oh, well, before Facebook, MySpace. Those little MySpace.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you can do a couple HTML things. Um, yeah. All right. Well,
I So to be honest, I mean, look, I can come up with solution and I can really easily tuning that. Like if you say, oh, put envoy in the middle, I can just quickly just change some lines. But for me, because for me, like whatever it's built is the same thing because you need to basically have like composer, npm install, copy env files. That's like, it's super standard the way you build CI.
yeah.
And whatever it's built in Composer or like, you know, or in GitLab CI, you just copy paste the same comments in the different formats. And I know well how the envoyer format is. I know the GitLab CI, GitHub actions, and I know App Engine. So I can just move it around if you don't like the general setup. But it's pretty straightforward. Like.
Okay. Yeah, so it looks like this. You go settings, there's a secrets thing, and add a new secret, and then you can use it that way.
I will check it out in a moment.
Yeah, so then I'll add in all of our stuff in there that we need for that. That sounds good.
Lovely. That would be very pro stack, like a nice managed infrastructure.
Yeah, and I want to use this on some other stuff that I'm working on too. So this would be great.
Oh man, like this power of having like scalability from zero, and this is most important, from zero, so you don't pay when nobody is using your service until you know you have million people because you got TV advert. That's super powerful. That you don't have to worry anymore. Like if my infrastructure take it or not, it's all by Google. They manage auto scaling, and the last coolest thing is to be manual and tuning up engine proxy if you can have 100 or 500 connections. That's like,
yeah. No, man, I'm excited about this. Where was the thing that we wanted in here? CI with GitHub Actions. All right. I think that takes care of us. So yeah, if you want to get working on that, I appreciate it. I guess probably unassign myself and assign you over to it.
great. I will push that together with the actions pingy.
Okay. All right. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye-bye.